Welcome back to Forgotten Working Class Podcast. I am Tiffany.
I'm John.
Today we have with us Richard Rawlings. Thank you for being here with us today.
Absolutely.
Before we get started, we just wanted to congratulate you on 20 years of success with Gas Monkey Garage. How does it feel?
It's pretty surreal. It's pretty awesome. There was a lot of times that I didn't think I was going to get there. But we're going strong, and we've had a pretty fun run with a lot of trials and tribulations.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you are such an inspiration to so many, and 20 years is incredible. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Dallas. We're here at the shop today. We're not making shows for Discovery anymore. We make our own shows here or wherever I might be. And so we live on YouTube now for the last few years. So we shoot every day, just like we did with Discovery. We just have control of it.
That's awesome. How old are you now, Richard?
55.
Congratulations.
Didn't think I'd make that either.
Right?
Got a feeling on that one.
Were you born and raised in Texas?
I was just about 30 miles from Dallas here in Fort Worth, and got to Dallas when I was probably 18. And so I call myself more of a Dallas boy than Fort Worth probably, but DFW will be fine.
Okay. Did you grow up in shops and around cars?
Not particularly. My dad or my family, then for that matter, we didn't have much growing up, but my dad worked probably 3 different jobs at a time, making ends meet. And so he always had a little toy that he stuffed in the garage, whether it was an old motorcycle or an old car or whatever. And, so I learned to appreciate them from my father. But he wasn't really a mechanic. He just liked to tinker around and show them off on the weekends and drive fast. It was the 70s. It was cool.
Nice. Was he blue collar?
Absolutely. My dad was a produce manager for a grocery store most of my childhood. And from there, he moved into a chemical plant and worked as basically a bag loader off a big machine and put it on the pallet until the pallet's full. And meanwhile, from the time I was 7 until I graduated high school, we had a paper route. And then back then we didn't have all these conveniences that we have. So we had a morning paper and an evening paper. So pretty much every single day from the time I was around 7 or so until I graduated high school, my dad would get me up about 3 a.m. and no matter the weather, I was going to be in the back seat with the windows down, and I would roll the papers and put them in the front seat and he'd chunk them out both sides. And then if we were lucky and it didn't take too long, which was usually 2 hours, I'd get another hour sleep at home and had to get up and go to school. And then after school, I had to race home because we had to do it all again in the evening for the evening paper. And so it was definitely blue collar.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know if there's a term below blue collar, but it seemed to feel like that.
I haven't heard paper route in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids don't know how lucky they are now.
Oh, it's funny. I had the paper route on the weekend. I mowed yards, raked leaves. And when I say paper route, it was like 20 miles long. We were, sometimes the papers were so big, we'd have to go back to the warehouse where you'd get them like twice and then go back to the route and keep throwing. But, and then on the weekends, I'd ride my bicycle around with a little collection book and collect the $2 or $3 for the monthly fee for the paper, because you didn't have all this electronic stuff or automatic billing or whatever. And so I knew where all the cars were. So that's where I really got into cars. Is I worked hard. I had a little, a few $100s every once in a while, or maybe even $1,000. And I would be collecting the newspaper from the guys or the money, and I'd go, "Hey, what's up with that Mustang in the garage?" And they'd be like, "The hell you know about my Mustang?" I'm like, "Dude, I drive your street twice a day and another time on the weekend. Come on." And so I would buy cars from guys out of their garage, their backyard, their front yard, and take them home and do what I could to them and sell them. and I was flipping cars from the time I was about 12.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah. I filed my first taxes because my parents were very strict about money. And, so I had to tithe to the church on the full amount. I had to save half of the full amount. And I had to file my taxes. I filed my first taxes when I was 12, 1040 EZ. And I had to fill it out myself. So I got a good money education out of that. It sucked, but it was, in the long run, it was good for me.
How'd you learn mechanics if dad wasn't a mechanic?
I'm not a mechanic. I know how to tinker. I can work my way around a shop and goof around, but I'm not a fabricator. And I wouldn't consider myself a mechanic or a painter. I'm the business guy. My tool of trade is the pen. So I understand it. I've been around it forever. I know it, but I know what my strength is, and my strength is building the company and keeping things on track and timing and the camaraderie, keeping the people going and fired up and ready to work.
Awesome. So you mentioned graduating high school. Did you go to college?
No, I did not. I went straight into, more or less straight into the police academy, and then into the fire academy, and then to medic school. So before I was 21, I was a police officer, firefighter, and medic.
That's
And I couldn't even buy a beer, but I could shoot somebody.
Yeah.
And what happened with that career?
I've just always had the entrepreneurial bug. I've always wanted to earn. So I've always wanted to build, along my high school years. I was flipping cars. I was mowing yards. Had a detail shop, whatever I could do. And so in the civil service side of things, it was what my dad told me to do. Get a good job. Don't have to work 3 jobs like I do. Get good benefits, So I settled into that and making plenty of money and for the time, and had great benefits, and 2 days off every other day and stuff like that. And I don't know, one day I just decided that there was more out there. So I did about 7 years of that, and I quit not even knowing what I was going to do. Long story short, bought a new Jeep, went out west, see the ocean, and came back about 6 months later, dead broke, and they repoed the Jeep the first night I was home, which was home at that time, was sleeping on my sister's couch because I didn't even have an apartment or anything. I just sold everything and left out west. But then it was time to get serious about getting to work. So I stumbled into printing and advertising sales, and I found my niche. It let me use my creativity to create and design things, or come up with the design for things, and help people launch their businesses, or engage their sales reps, or engage the customer. And I really found a niche there and excelled. I ended up building my own company from my apartment, and sold it about 5 years later for just enough money to start this crazy little venture.
That's
awesome.
incredible.
Yeah.
And, we were doing the math. You started Gas Monkey in your 30s.
Yeah.
And you've become extremely successful. What made you want to start that?
Truthfully, it's kind of a funny story, because I was watching the shows that were on TV at the time, and Discovery was real popular and had some motorcycle shows and all that. And my wife and stepson weren't in the room most of the time when I'd watch that. And I finally asked her one Sunday morning, I said, "What's the deal with this? These shows are funny. I watch them. I dig it. Why don't y'all watch them?" She goes, "Oh, it's too much bravado and bandanas down to here and kicking boxes and cussing at each other and, fire and all this." And so I started thinking about it. And the next weekend I said, I got this idea for a shop that does cars mostly instead of motorcycles only. And it's the same thing, but, at the end of the day, I'm in the branding business with this venture. If I start it, and I want to sell shirts and hats and be in Walmart and Target and all the places like these guys were at the time, and, get a TV show and, get crazy, maybe get into restaurants, maybe get into other these things. And my wife was at the time said, "Yeah, right. Like, you're just going to do that." And here in Texas, we have a saying, "Hold my beer and watch this." And So I just said, screw it. I had a guy that was gnawing at me to sell my company. So I sold it, and I started Gas Monkey, and here we are.
Incredible.
Yeah,
All it takes is a dream.
Yeah.
And I tell you, a lot of people, there's a lot of crazy stories out there where I sold this big company for all this big money and bought my way into the market. And it's just simply not true. I had a big company, but it also had a lot of debt. Printing equipment is very expensive. You get into big Heidelberg presses and you might have $2 million, $3 million press laying on the ground, you know, that you've got to feed to make money, and or several of them like I did. And so while the number that people think they know of what I sold my printing and advertising company for is a big number, after the debt was paid and after the exit was done and all of the good stuff, it wasn't that much. It was very, very low six figures. I mean, it was not much at all. I've heard stories that I fly into work in my helicopter and sold my company for tens of millions of dollars, and that's simply not true.
Well, that's why it's an honor to have you here telling us, you know, from your own mouth. You read so much on the internet about all these people, and it's nice to have you here telling us the truth.
Well, I mean, I started it with the ideology of get out there on the trails, go to all the shows nationwide, the swap meets, all that kind of stuff. Because again, we didn't have this thing that tells everybody what's going on. You had to be there in front of them. And so we had this big truck, and I was going back and forth around the nation for like 4 or 5 years and going to all the shows and selling shirts, you know, and we'd be happy as hell if we sold, 500 shirts in a weekend at, the Good Guys event or whatever. And that got us enough gas and baloney to get to the next place. And meanwhile, we're trying to build cars and trying to get a name for ourselves. And I am trying to make that name seem big enough that I can get the attention of Discovery, because I wanted to show on Monday nights on Discovery right against everybody else. And so I ended up shooting all of my own sizzle reels for Gas Monkey because I couldn't afford somebody to do it for me. And I would go to Hollywood every once in a while and bang on anybody's door that would listen to me. And, it took, I thought in my business plan, it was going to take 3 to 4 years to be big enough to get the show. And it ended up taking 8.
Wow.
And I came real close to giving up a couple of times because you want to get humbled real fast. You have to go to your wife and ask for $800 so that you can pay your only employee, and not yourself. That'll get your attention real fast.
Gave me chills. It goes to show anything is possible, and it takes true hard work and perseverance to get there.
A little bit of stupidity on my part. A lot of people would have gave up. But I was hell bent on it. I knew I had the right idea, and the whole right idea was based around family and camaraderie with your friends, and not the bravado and the BS and the kicking and the cussing and all that crap. Sure, it happens. We're a hot rod shop, but it wasn't putting it out there in front of everybody to make it cool. I wanted it to, be something that the family would buy the kids a onesie or a stuffed toy or a Hot Wheel or, any of those kind of things. And, I'm still wearing jewelry and all tattooed up, but, I guess I'm just not that character.
Well, listen, we've seen guys out there impersonating you. We met somebody not long ago over in Fort Myers who.
Well, it was definitely.
Oh, I know that guy. He's come by here before.
Has
And he goes to shows and stuff. And he asked me, he goes, does it bother you? I said, it really doesn't, as long as you're not an a-hole, as long as you're nice to people. I said, if I hear about you being an a-hole, I said, I'll pull your cord real fast.
Yeah, we rode our bike. It was to Harley. It was at a Harley Davidson dealership on the West Coast. We rode over there, and they had this huge event. So we parked the bike. We get off. We start walking around, and all of a sudden, it's Richard Rawlings. And I'm like, that's him? And it was like, take a picture for $2 with me. And then I started looking at him, and I'm like, that's not him. That's an impersonator. It's not him.
Well, I take the pictures for free, but if I was going to charge, it'd be a lot more than $2.
Right. Wow. Well, your journey is absolutely inspiring. Another thing that is crazy and inspiring is you went through something super traumatic. You want to tell us what happened?
it wasn't that traumatic, but when I was 92, I did get carjacked and got shot. Luckily I survived, but bullet went in my shoulder here and came out down here on my arm because my arm was on the steering wheel. So it kind of went through there. And it was interesting because in my mind, they were shooting before they even got up to ask me for some money or whatever. They just came up fast and bullets were flying. And I think the one thing that saved my life was, even though I was a police officer and a firefighter then, when I went out with my buddies to the bars, because I was like 22 by then, I didn't carry my gun in the car where I usually kept it. I just thought it was stupid. You know, we're all young, and I was on the wrong side of Fort Worth, and I didn't need that problem. And it probably saved my life because in a split second, I went down to reach for my gun and realized it wasn't there. Hand just went to the shifter and took off. So I think about it, had my gun, it might be a completely different story. And it'd probably be me not being here because I didn't have the drop on him by any means. And so I was lucky. It didn't really mess up too many things. I had some problems with my hand for a couple of years, but was able to get through it and keep going.
Wow. Did you have, how many surgeries did you need?
I think there was 2.
Okay.
Yeah. The scar is more heinous than it really is. It's that when they do nerve surgery, they have to kind of cut in and find that nerve, and then they just kind of go until they find where they need to go. So, when I woke up, I was so pissed off because I got this jagged ass scar and, like this long. And that just turns out how it had to be because they got to follow it. It doesn't go a certain path.
Yeah. Did they ever catch that guy?
There was 3 of them, and no, they never caught him.
Oh my God.
But there was a string of that kind of crap going on back then in that area. So it is what it is.
Did you end up in a coma?
No. It just went through the shoulder and arm.
Okay. Well, I mean, sometimes they have to incubate people for whatever reasons.
They're gonna put him in a coma for that.
Yeah, they're not going to coma me, but they put me out when they did the surgery. But that was a few months later.
Okay. Well, you had some questions about the Cannonball Run.
Yeah, you did the Cannonball Run, didn't you?
We did in May of 2007.
What was your time?
31 hours and 59 minutes. It's right there on the arm. We did it in a 1999 550 Maranello. When we broke the record, it was the first time the record had been broken since 1979. Cars and technology have gotten much, much faster. I think the record right now is real close to 26 hours because it's just the freeways are bigger. Everything's better. There's more technology and what have you. I mean, we were lucky. We just had a good run. We didn't have any run-ins with the law, and we didn't have any problems with the car.
That's awesome.
But I'll never do it again. Everybody always asks, well, your record's been beaten. And I said, it wasn't beaten for about 7 or 8 years, and that's good enough for me.
You wouldn't want to do it again?
No, I'm too old for that crap, man. That was a long haul. Dennis, my co-driver, still swears to God it ruined his eyes. And, he says, that's when I started having to wear glasses.
So where did it start from?
Manhattan to Redondo Beach Inn. And there's a lot of guys that are out there saying that as long as you go coast to coast, it counts. And it doesn't, because if you go from the Red Ball Garage and to Santa Monica Pier, well, depending on the traffic, that could cut 2 hours off your time frame between there and Redondo Beach. So we stuck to, what everybody else had stuck to prior to us. And that's to me is what I consider the real Cannonball.
Awesome.
Very cool. You wanted to know what made you want to do it.
Yeah, what made you want to do the Cannonball Run?
We were already set up running a rally from Canada down the East Coast to Key West. And we were sitting in Canada. Next day, we were going to drive to New York and talking and having a few beers with the other rally guys. one of my buddies, Jay, said that Cannonball world record will never be beaten. You can't do it. There's too many cops. There's all this stuff. And I looked at Dennis. I said, I think we can do it. And he says, he goes, well, I'll bet you 25 grand you can't. Jay did. And I said, that doesn't even pay the expenses that I have on this rally. And you want me to leave this rally and go try to beat the Cannonball world record and miss out on what I just paid on? He goes, make it 50. And I said, the odds are it can't be broken. I'd be being an idiot to bet 50 grand that I can. And he goes, fine, 50 grand if you do beat it. And if you don't owe me anything. You just have to try. And I said, that's a deal.
Yeah, that's a deal, right? Yeah.
And we had a perfect run. We had the press there and everything. When we came in, it was about 2:30 or 3 at night. And when we realized we were getting close, I had my guys here in Dallas, 4 of them, jump in one of the trucks with the trailer, haul ass out there. And by 6-7 minutes after we got to the hotel, the car was on the trailer, tied down, and on its way back to the East Coast because we're still in the other rally. And so me and Dennis got some shut eye, chartered a jet, went across, and and we didn't tell everybody on the rally what we were doing. And when they all came running into Savannah, Georgia, the news had hit. We had been on all the newscasts and all this, and it is in the newspapers. And we're back across the country with the car ready to go. And those guys were like, I don't know how you did that shit.
That right there is amazing.
What was the time that you beat?
Damn it. It was like 32:40 something. We only beat it by right at an hour. To tell you the truth, it's I always said that somebody would get under 30 hours, but approaching 25 and 6 is crazy to me. That is really nuts.
Hauling ass.
Yeah, that's like a lot of coffee and maybe a lot of Adderall.
Back then it was Red Bull beef jerky.
Right.
You can't drink too much, especially the coffee, because then you got to go pee.
Yeah,
that's true.
You got to measure everything. And we had radar detectors and diffusers and jammers and a big old CB that walked all over everybody. And so we had a really good setup. And I think one of the biggest things that helped was my wife at the time, my ex-wife. We called her and said what we were going to do. And she was a computer programmer genius. And she goes, well, what's the trick? I said, the trick is staying fast enough that you're going to make it. And then not going so slow that you can't make up that time. So somehow out of that sense, she designed a computer program real fast. And we were calling her, every couple of hours going, okay, we're at mile marker 368 and it's 12:32. And she's like, okay, you're right in that. We were trying to stay in that 90 to 100 mile an hour range, so that we could get there fast enough. We ended up averaging 87.6 miles an hour and beating the record. But I was trying to get up into that 90 to 100 mile average so that we could be in the 30 hours. And so she probably kept us out of a lot of trouble, because you get out there and get stopped. By the time you get that ticket, you might as well drive home. You have a flat. By the time you change it, you might as well drive home. You can't make that time up.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, we saw that you were also just here for the F1. How was that?
It's freaking badass. It was my second F1, but this one we had a really good time, and it was a long week last week. I was in Moab, Utah for 3 days camping and having a few beers and doing that kind of crap. Then I came home, repacked, and went to F1 for 4 days. So yesterday I was pretty tired.
I bet.
Pretty worn out.
We'd like to get out to F1 one of these years. We're about 2 hours from Miami.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, it's been amazing talking with you, and you truly are so inspiring and so humble. Do you have any inspiring words for our youth wanting to be entrepreneurs or?
I think that for our youth, they need to seriously look at the trades. If you're a good tradesman right now, you can make a damn nice living and put your kids through college and have some savings. And have a nice home with a pool and all that kind of stuff. And that trades is not necessarily as bad as it used to could feel, or the stigma that was with it in the 70s and 80s and what have you, because there's so much technology that goes into the trades. My guys back here, sure, they're fabricators and mechanics and everything, but they use the computer as much as they use a screwdriver. And so I highly suggest that, and I know that there's an uptick with our boys and girls looking at the trades, because there's a severe shortage. And as far as entrepreneurialism and in general, you can do it. Just stay humble and stay small as long as you can. I keep a very tight ship, as big as everybody may feel that Gas Monkey is. Gas Monkey proper right here, where we do the show and we do the builds and everything else, is only 7 people. So a lot of, I've always kept a very tight ship and stayed small as long as I could. And that's the key to success as far as I'm concerned.
That's great advice. And for everybody watching, check out gasmonkeygarage.com, because you guys do some ridiculous giveaways.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible giveaways.
Yeah, we have a good time with that. We're giving away a Demon 170 right now, brand new, and a Hennessy Velociraptor. And if I can get it bought today, the next car is going to be a Z07, 2024 Z07 Corvette. And, make sure they follow us on YouTube, because it's a weird thing, because right now I'm getting pushed. Discovery, the show is still so popular, still the #1 automotive motorcycle show in the world. And they play it so much because it makes them so much money that it's very hard for me to transfer the knowledge to everybody out there that I'm not on TV anymore. They're like, oh, we were wondering when you were coming back because all I see is reruns. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on YouTube every week, Gas Monkey Garage. Tell your friends that. But I have to apologize for one thing. And the second the screen came on, I realized that I got my big Ready Kilowatt back here. And I was like, and you got electrocuted. I'm like, God dang it.
So hold on.
What are you doing?
Just wait.
Okay. But I'm real into the electric kilowatt because he was real big down here as a kid. I used to see giant neons. If I could find one of those neons, I'd pay whatever I could for it. But there's a lot of memorabilia.
So I got him that shirt.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I've got the one, I told you on the phone the other day when we were setting this up that my buddy got electrocuted real bad. And I bought him the one that looks just like that, but it says, remember kids, electricity will kill you.
Yeah.
It says that on the back.
Did it say that on the back? I couldn't see it.
Yeah. It says it on the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. God, I love it.
I seen this shirt and I was like, oh my God, I have to have that.
You do. Freddie wears his all the time. It cracks him up and what have you. But guys, thank y'all too. When you reached out, I tried to get back to you as soon as I could. And sorry, I know we tried to do this a couple of weeks ago, but something came up as it always does. And if y'all ever in Dallas, stop by.
We definitely appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. And
It's awesome.
whenever you come back to Florida, give us a holler.
All right, guys, be cool.
All right.